Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome back to another live training. Guys, today I really want to do really a casual Q&A type of live stream. I know there are a lot of questions as far as the market, current capacity, a lot of problems right now in the trucking industry. Some of you guys watching right now, maybe you are an owner operator, maybe you're a freight dispatcher, maybe a freight broker. I do have good news and bad news, obviously, but I really want to keep this very casual. As I said, it's just like I will let you ask a lot of questions because I do get a lot of questions as far as Kamal, when the market will come back. What do you think? Should I start my trucking company? Should I buy a truck? Should I sell my trucking company? Should I go directly to a shipper? So there are two things happening. What I realize is that not many people realize this. This is very important. More specifically, we are talking about the spot market. I'm talking about the load boards. By the way, we did about 4 or 5 months ago. So it's a video live training I did with Mark. So please watch that video. It's how to optimize your the load board. So let's take and see who we have. And please, guys, if you have questions, I think duration of this live stream will be about like 45 minutes. But I'll stay as long as you want me to stay, be honest with you. But then I really want this to be like very engaging, as I said, casual. So you'll be asking questions and I'll be responding to your questions. So I do see that we have a Regina, and Regina says, I think I know Regina. Regina, she's from Uzbekistan. She also liked the place called Shishka. Okay, so that's one thing. And we have Eric here is already communicating. We have Isabel. Hi, Isabel. So if you have questions, please let me know. Pure intentions. Well, as you have pure intentions, as I can see, get my notes and pen. Yes, please do. Let me see. Let me take this real quick. Alimjan Yusupov says, hi there. Hi, Alimjan. Please, could you mention how to negotiate with a broker? Obviously. So I have one important thing when I said something like, I'll be talking about the spot market, something really very important happening inside the load board. So I will give you some tips and tactics how to optimize your load board. So please stick with me. But I really want you to ask questions, right? So as I said, it should be very engaging. So I'm here for you guys. And I get a lot of emails, obviously. So I'm live right now. You can ask me any questions you have. Obviously, not personal questions, but related to the business, like trucking, freight brokering, how to get direct shippers. You can ask anything about the load board, spot market rates, and obviously we'll push into the Q&A. We'll stay with the Q&A. And as long as I see that you have some questions, and I'll do my best to help you with your questions. So I'll be coming back to your questions. So Pure Intention says, can you tell me what paperwork am I sending to the broker? Meaning, also, please let me know if you are a carrier, right? So if you're a carrier, then let me know if you're a carrier. So if you're a freight dispatcher, I'm specifically talking about the new regulations, we have, and then we're not going into details because I did 2 videos, like hour and long. So please watch those videos. So please let me know if you are a carrier, if you're a shipper, if you're a broker or a freight dispatcher. Let me see. Good Child says, hi. What's up? Okay, Rodney Bell says, what brokers do you recommend for carriers with brand new MCs? For those of you who don't know MCs, I'm assuming a lot of you know, but then I do have, some people, maybe they don't know what MC stands for. MC stands for motor carriers, basically new carriers in the market, right? So Pure Intention says, as a dispatcher, awesome. So you are a dispatcher. Great. Let's talk about what very straightforward. I do see and I read your comments, and please comment as well, as far as like when video been pushed or posted, please go and comment. I really read them, and I'll do my best to help you with your comments, like any problems you have. in the tracking, specifically guidance, obviously. So let me know your questions. In the comments, what I see, people will say something like, Kamal, when you have a long intro, meaning like you're talking about, let's say, introducing the topic, but then you're going into the topic, but then please, you can cut the excess fat and go directly to a meat and let us have that meat. Well, that's perfectly fine, but when you watching these types of live streams, you need to understand one thing, that we have people all over the world and they're different level. Maybe you are a carrier, maybe you are a broker, and right next to you or watching, across the globe, that person might be interested in becoming, let's say, a freight dispatcher or a freight broker. And some people brand new, they're watching YouTube videos, and their live stream pops up, and then here's the Kamal talking about freight dispatching or the trucking industry. They don't know what I'm talking about. So I must give some intro before I move into the details. For some of you who are ready for like this like golden nuggets, like Kamal, throw them at me and then I'll just get them and then obviously start implementing. If you are those types of people, I really wanted to say that if you are a carrier, go directly to a direct shipper, work with the shipper. And obviously I will, guide you. And when I introduce you to the topic, let's say, hey, if you are a carrier meaning you're an owner operator, you have a truck and trailer, you work off of a spot market, meaning you are finding loads using a load board. Guys, one thing, this is very important. One thing you need to know. Let me give you an example. They're a trucking company, let's say A, right? So trucking company A will go to a shipper, and then they have contracts. Let's say hundreds of carriers. Let's say 400, 500 carriers working with the shipper, with the shippers. And there are some people, let's say owner operators, they have their own MC, meaning they're carriers, and then they're working off of a spot market, meaning a load board. What's happening for those 500 carriers working with shippers? They're obviously accepting loads directly from shippers. This is very important. For those of you who are taking notes, please do take notes. This is very, very important. So when these people, 500 carriers, go to a direct shipper and asking for, let's say, contracted, freight or the loads getting directly from a shipper, eliminating the middleman, which is a freight broker. And what's happening? Majority of those people, meaning companies, carriers, they're rejecting the load or the freight. They said, we're not accepting, it's cheap or something like that. So what's happening? That is called, this is the terminology, but don't be like scared, but you can Google it, you can search. It's the tender rejection, right? So what they're doing, they're rejecting the code, the load, and say, no, we don't accept. Maybe it's 6 months. There's a lane from Atlanta to Houston, Texas, or something like that. They're rejecting it. When they're rejecting those loads are being pushed to a spot market rate. See what's happening? So they are carriers working directly with shippers, accepting loads or rejecting loads, right? Then those who are rejecting those loads are being pushed to, let's say, load boards. Shipper A, B, and C calling the freight broker saying, hey, I have 200 loads. I have, let's say, 15 loads going. This is the lane from Atlanta to Houston. So carrier's rejecting it. Hey, broker, I need your help. Then what broker does is get his cuts, and obviously meaning his commissions or his percentage, and he's pushing to a spot market. Now we have these companies A, B, and C. They're open this load board, let's say DAT Power Load Board. They open up the DAT Load Board, and then what they're doing, they're watching these loads are being so cheap. Who they think they're blaming? Let's get real here, guys. And again, let's make this very engaging. Please interact with me, ask questions. Don't just listen. You'll get bored because usually it takes an average about 45 minutes live training. But please do ask questions. If I say, like, who they're blaming, meaning carriers. They see the loads, let's say load from Atlanta, Georgia to Houston, Texas, and it pays about like $950. Carrier freaks out. The one player in this game comes up to his mind. Who is it? Guys, help me here. Just type whatever you want to do, and then I will take your questions. Let me see. I'll get back to this. Rebecca says, hello, I'm a new dispatcher. What are the best ways to get carriers? Awesome. We'll also talk about, I'll give you some marketing tips and tactics that you can use. But again, when I'm watching, if I'm a freight dispatcher or independent freight dispatchers more specifically, and I'm looking at the blame, let's see, let me take this, bingo, right? The blame is going to the broker, obviously, right? So, well, you blaming the broker, but then who? Like, think about the shipper reaching out to the broker, and obviously, the broker does his job, saying, "Hey, shipper, relax, do whatever you want to do, and then let me take this because I have a network of carriers." So now, see what's happening, and this is very important. If you guys watched the video that I did, I interviewed the Mark. Remember at the beginning of this video, I mentioned his name. I think, is a product. I can't remember specifically his title, but he works with DAT for about 20 years. So he knows ins and outs of a load board, more specifically DAT Power Load Board. So what he said that, hey, we are releasing the new feature. Did you guys watch that video? Please do. This for some of you, obviously it's an epiphany, or it's like aha moment. But think about when the shipper says, hey, carrier's rejecting the load, we're pushing it to the spot market, which is load board. You, broker, have carriers on your back, take my loads and assign to them. And I want to do my stuff, right? I'm very like simplifying, or my job is to simplify. So the broker says, absolutely, takes those loads, and he's just, put his percentage or hit cuts, and then he posts onto the load board. When I say onto the load board, I don't mean it's a live feed. Do you know what live feed means? Live feed is when you're looking at the load board. As brokers start posting their loads, if you're using DAT Power Load Board, load will automatically pop up, and it will just call the broker and obviously negotiate the freight. But now it's a different game. A lot of brokers, what they do, they work what they call as in-network carriers. Guys, if you guys taking notes, please take this and just, you can call the DAT and ask or get more training on this. I do, train on this, but think about in-network carriers. If you work, let's say, C.H. Robinson, or let's say XPO Logistics, anything like TQL, I know for some of you already started, like, I don't know, your physiology changed when you hear TQL. I got it. I hear you. So think about, because most people, they know the TQL, maybe they're a good company, bad company. I don't care. The broker company, let's say, TQL, they're not pushing that load as a live feed. What they're doing now, think about, it's another filtering. It's another layer. Now TQL says, well, in my database, I have, let's say, 500 carriers. So I know about 20 of these carriers. They're awesome. See what I'm saying? In-network carriers, the load board right now, at this moment, it's happening. You're not seeing those loads that are being pushed from a direct shipper onto these load boards. You don't see them, right? Who see them? In-network carriers. That means if you work with a 2QL for about last 5-10 years, if you work with C.H. Robinson for last 5 or 6 years, and then you have really good track record or something like that, basically it means that you are a really awesome company. and these companies prefer working with you. Think about 500 carriers. Loads are being pushed only for these people in network carriers. Now, think about so just think how this, from point A, this load comes from point B. See how the price already is decreased. I'm not even talking about the supply demand. I'm not talking about the market condition we have right now, the inflation, the war in Ukraine. I'm not even talking about this. I did a video last week on Tuesday. Please go, watch that video. It's an awesome live training. It was a live training. I'm not going into this. This is more specific. So this is what's happening, right? Carriers working directly with direct shippers, not accepting loads. Let's say I would have accepted, for example, if there is a load going out of a Charlotte, North Carolina to, let's say, Phoenix, Arizona, and it pays about $6,000. But some carriers, they don't accept those loads because of the high cost per mile, right? The CPM. And by the way, you guys must know the CPM, right? Cost per mile. This is very, very important. Well, it changes, obviously, trucking company to trucking company and size and all of that, but then it's very, very important. I would have accepted that load going out of a Charlotte to Phoenix, Arizona for $6,000 or $7,000, but some carriers, they don't accept because of the high cost per mile. This happening, right? And what's happening then, shipper says, hey, broker, just push this load onto a spot market rate. Let other carriers to pick up because this carrier or these carriers, they're not willing to accept because they have a cost per mile, high cost per mile or something like that. Then what's happening? Then broker obviously take that load and said, no. I'm not going to push this load to everybody. I don't want this load to be available for everybody. No. What I'll do, because I have that ability to just push this load, select specific carriers, and I'll push them in and they will see, because I work with them and I do have the good relationship with these guys. What's happening for the rest of the world, right? Meaning other carriers. Well, they see very, very bottom line cheap loads, and obviously they're blaming everything. The economy, the government, the shippers, the brokers, the war in Ukraine, everything. But I'm not saying that it's not true, but obviously there are some effects. I can see that, right? There is a slowdown. And we talked about this market conditions last week. The buying power is decreased, meaning people, they're not willing to spend money, right? And because of that, shippers, they're not going to produce, for example. Think it's in a basic language, right? So then what's the solution? We have this, I think that was a question about the broker, how to negotiate. Let's start with Alimjan, right? Let's start with this. And by the way, guys, we now basically transition into a Q&A, but then I'll be taking your questions at the same time. We'll be just, giving you the tips and tactics, what to do and how to do it at the same time. So please, could you mention how to negotiate with a broker? There is and I do teach this more specifically inside the training. And obviously, there is a link below this video, will be the link below this video. A lot of you guys asked because we closed the enrollment. So we did open for about 2-3 days, right? So the link is available. So if you wanted to join, you can join, but then we'll close the enrollment for another year or so. So think about, there is a let me take from the training. This is what I teach my students, right? My students, if you're watching here, please forgive me. It's a hook, reason, and offer. Hook, reason, and offer. And this is how it goes. And Alimjan, this is specifically for you. And obviously for those of you who are watching, this is very important. And maybe you're a carrier and you're dispatching your own freight. Maybe you're an independent freight dispatcher. You want to talk to a broker. So what's happening, this is a real, I would say, demonstration. You're looking at the load board. You have carrier, let's say in Charlotte, North Carolina, let's say, or Atlanta, Georgia. Now you have about 4 trucks and you wanted to move these trucks, let's say to California or something like that. Let's stick with the California. You want to move your trucks to California. You open up your DAT Power. I'm assuming you have DAT Power. If you don't, please do have that. And then meaning the subscription for the DAT. I'll come back. I'll come back and give you the reason why is that. So then what do? You put the origin and destination. When you put origin and destination, and obviously there is a specific tactic when you put origin and destination. I put origin. Some people, by the way, they put something like the city, right? Hey, it makes sense. My trucks in Charlotte, North Carolina, or Atlanta, Georgia, so I want to move. Please don't. Include like neighboring states. This is one tactic, not going into details. We'll come back. Then destination, some people will do, hey, if I'm moving my trucks to California, well, obviously I put Los Angeles, California, and radius is 500, 200, 250, 300, whatever. But I won't do that. I highly recommend putting neighboring states. But then, Kamal, I'm not going into the other states. I'm going more specific. Well, this is how it works because it's an AI machine, right? Artificial intelligence. This is very important. You're fitting the load. I mean, the load board. You're giving more data, and you will receive or you get back more. Think about outputs. You will select the loads that you want to take, right? So, well, obviously, I'm not gonna show you the load board going into this, but then I'll just quickly cover this, and then I'll take another question. So then you have a load, specific load, you liked it, and you call the broker. So broker obviously says, "Hey, this is so and so," and you talking to this broker, and this is how it goes. First, tell them what we really want. Basically, this is how it goes. Hey, I'm calling about this load coming out of Los Angeles, California, goes to Houston, Texas, or Charlotte, North Carolina, or Atlanta, Georgia. Tell me more. I'm interested. Right? Oh, awesome. So first thing, what will happen is that some brokers will ask you the MC, the company info, to see if you set up with them or not. That's a different process. Or our separate question. Then what will happen? Let's assume that you're working with this broker. So this broker will say, hey, yeah, this load is about like 45,000 pounds. It's about this feet that long, all the dimension and what it is. And if there's an appointment, then he will say the appointment and whatnot, all the information you need. You listen. I never, ever, never happened that I'm just cutting him off and just saying, hey, give me this. And no, let him finish. And there is a hook reason offer. The hook is if this works, if you wanted to take that load. Otherwise, why are you negotiating, right? So if you're negotiating, that means you're interested in picking up that load. So you have a carrier in Los Angeles, California. You have really awesome load, and then you want to take. This will work, and that's a tactic. Hook, reason, offer. Hook basically goes something like that. Well, if the broker says that, let's say 3 p.m. load must be picked up 3 p.m. today or by tomorrow or something like that, and this is how it goes. This is the hook. Well, awesome. I have a truck available in your area, right? So I have a truck available. What's happening in his mind? Awesome, right? I want to just give you this load and just take that load and deliver. I will pick up before 3 p.m. today or tomorrow. Let's say that load is for, goes for about, let's make it, things simple. Let's say it's $10,000. And you can say something like, and obviously you're negotiating, you need, but what's the end result for negotiating, right? I need more. That's what's happening. So I want to just say that what you need to say and what not to say, this is very important. So then you can say, hey, if I can pick up today by 2 p.m. or tomorrow by 2 p.m., if that load is assigned for, or ready to go tomorrow by 3 p.m., and I have truck available, and I can safely, watch these words, and I can safely deliver in Charlotte, North Carolina, Atlanta, Georgia, by whatever the deadline is, right? You need to deliver within, let's say, 7 days or 8 days or 10 days. And I will deliver safely deliver in that day. Would you do 1150? That means 11,500. So keep this in mind. That's the hook, reason, offer. The hook basically saying, hey, I have truck available, I can pick it up. That's important. And then obviously you give him this specific thing that, hey, I will pick up in this time, right? Then I will safely, that's an offer. We're moving into the offer saying, hey, I can safely deliver this load today, tomorrow, whatever that is, right? Then the offer, well, hook, reason, offer. The reason you're asking is because you're delivering safely on that day, and then here's an offer, hook, reason, offer. The offer is 1150. Keep this in mind, and then this is majority of the freight dispatchers won't do it. Think about now, what's the traditional way of doing this? And let's compare this. There is a, let's say, dispatcher calls this broker and says, he listens obviously and says, well, awesome. Well, you pay 10,000, man. Everything is going nuts right now. It's I don't know. Can you do 1150 on this one? Well, there is no hook. You didn't hook up the let's say broker. He's just listening, and he's like, well, I'm already giving you 10,000, and there's no reason, and you're just basically saying, hey, can you do 11,000 or 1150 or something like that? The probability of a broker saying no to your offer is high. Compare this to hook, reason, offer. So if you implement this, Alimjan, I'm specifically talking to you, is when you implement this tactic, majority or probability of winning this load is high. Hope that helps, right? The hook, reason, offer. That's very important. So, and most people will just like, how'd you come up with this? Guys, as you know, like I taught thousands of, students, and obviously I've been in this business like for a long time. So we made thousands of calls and in conversation with freight brokers. So there's a psychology, and obviously don't directly ask. It's just basically, if it's a form of bragging, saying, can you do 11,000 or something like that? Well, for brokers, it doesn't make any sense. What will happen at the end of this first example, meaning hook, reason, offer, we implement it correctly, and what broker might say is, man, I can't do 1150, but I'm willing to give you 11, something like that, right? Awesome. So hope that helps, John. Please let me know if did help. Let's take this question. Pure Intention says, can you tell me what paperwork am I sending to the broker? Me being the dispatcher. Absolutely. So the paperwork, when you're calling, let's say you set up with the carrier. So independent freight dispatchers, their customers, carriers. Let's say that I am a former carrier. I had a company called the Prime Express. So let's say I have 4 trucks and I work with you specifically. I don't know your name, but it's Pure Intentions, right? So your channel name. So then I'm working with you. We have a dispatcher carrier agreement, and what it does is basically gives you the limited power of attorney to use my company to dispatch. This is very important. So now you're calling the broker. So 2 things will happen when you're calling the broker. So you have this load, very important. You have this load, you're interested in picking up this load. And then 2 things will happen. You either set up already, meaning the carrier, me, Prime Express, already set up with this broker that you called, or calling, or over the phone talking to him right now, or we're not set up yet, then there is a process. So we're talking about we're not set up yet because you're asking about the paperwork process. So then broker will say, hey, listen, I don't see you in the system, but then obviously we can get you set up. What will happen? Broker will send you the carrier packet, right? So it's basically broker carrier agreement. All the paperwork they have, they will just send it to you. You just, filling out, agreeing on whatever the broker carrier agreement. That's it. So if you need more like info from you, like, hey, you need to add me as an additionally insured certificate of insurance, your carrier must provide with all these, you must have this paperwork. And then obviously you're sending to a broker. Then broker says, okay, you approved. Then if you agree on picking up that load, then you will receive something called rate confirmation. Rate confirmation is very, very important document. Please pay attention. It's basically you and a broker agreeing on a load, right? Saying, hey, this is a load coming out of Los Angeles, California, goes to Charlotte, North Carolina in this state, and this is the load. This is how much I'm paying, and then carrier agrees to pick up and deliver. That's the rate confirmation, and that's basically the process. Let's see. Rennie, I remember you asked this question. What brokers do you recommend? What brokers do you recommend for carriers with brand new MC? One thing what I know is I did a video, but I can't remember off of my head the title of the video. I talked about something like building a list with the broker. So we'll talk about this. I think this is a really great topic for another day. But then I don't have specific brokers that work with new MCs. New MCs always been a challenge for brokers, obviously, because of the risk. If you are, let's say, owner operator or a new carrier with, let's say, less than 30 days or less than 6 months or something like that. Some people, yet when I mentioned less than 6 months, what basically means that you're brand new. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying that, hey, you've been in business for about 2-3 months and nobody willing to give you the load. Well, it's happening. It's happening, right? It's happening right now. Not many brokers, agreeing to work with carriers with 2 months, 3 months. But then I don't have Randy. I don't have specific list of brokers. But I did it when I was a carrier. I did this. I was just continue calling, and when the brokers accept my load, what I did is just I would take that information and plug it into my system, saying that, hey, I work with this broker, because it's less than 30 days, but he accepted. Then obviously you just email again and saying, hey, I have trucks available in whatever the zone you are, and then if that broker has a load, and then he will assign to you. So, sorry that I don't have the list that I can give it to you. So let's take this. Rebecca said, hello, I'm a new dispatcher. What are the best ways to get carriers? Best way, and I'm eliminating everything. And Rebecca, I remember you asked this question. The best way is obviously using the social media. Maybe you heard this already. Many people talked about this. Yes, their groups go there, message. Why they say is because it works, right? And think about it, it's one of the social media channels is YouTube. So how you know me? Maybe you never saw me. Maybe you're interested in becoming a freight dispatcher. You were searching online, and then you type something freight dispatcher, and then dispatch trucks, popped up. There's a video. You watched the second video. You subscribed. You turn on the bell notification. You like the video. You share the video, and here you are. Another video talking about how you can get carriers, right? And you watch. Now we have some relationship with you, and now see, now you like you looking at me, and I look at your picture, right? Now we're building a relationship. Why am I saying this? Relationship, everything, right? So the brand awareness that I must see that you exist. This is how you get carriers. Carriers, obviously, they're out there and they're looking for freight dispatchers. Even now, it's really the really good time for specifically for independent freight dispatchers getting carriers on board. Now what's happening, even it's crazy right now. Carriers obviously thinking that specifically independent freight dispatchers, they know the load board specifically. I don't know. And I'm struggling because they're in pain right now. They're looking for what? If you are in a pain, if you are in a pain, what am I looking for? I'm looking for a solution. So if I have a problem, I'm looking for a solution. The solution is right now is independent freight dispatchers. Many of those carriers looking right now, and what they're doing. There's no specific database where carriers go and obviously ask for a dispatcher, unless they're using social media like Facebook groups or something like that. But it's very important that if you have a YouTube channel and maybe you're good at video, or if you don't want to show your face or faceless videos or something like that, you can do that. But then brand awareness is very important. Social media channels. I'm talking about the Instagram accounts. I'm talking about the Facebook accounts, Facebook page. Well, I think most importantly, your website specifically for your business, but then its marketing strategies are totally different because you are basically you're alone. You need to kind of push that um, the website or promote your website. On the other hand, let's say you have this Facebook already have billions of people on their platform using the platform, and there's a lot of interaction. And basically, you doing your marketing, saying, "Hey, I'm here. I'm in independent freight dispatch, and I can dispatch, your trucks." So, hope that helps. Best way, and again, I'm summarizing it: use social media. More specifically, obviously, we don't have time to go to specific tactics and scripts to use or posts to use. But then obviously the groups are very important, but then there's a specific way to kind of pushing them into the Facebook Messenger and, getting more interactions from them, and then get the customer that way. So the blaming applied, let's say. So Shazleen says, I applied for my LLC today as a dispatcher. Awesome. Some people get confused. Well, congratulations, by the way. Some people will get confused, like why I need um, LLC. But it's LLC, for those of you who don't know, it's a limited liability company. It's very, very important. Let me take Alim Jan had, as I heard that getting a contract with a shipper carrier must have a 3 trucks at least. Well, great point. I would say yes and no, Alim Jan, although it's a great point. So let me take back. When we say shipper, or you said a shipper, let's say shippers, right? There are many. What type of shippers? They said that, I think it's a myth, but then how did you come up with this? Like they said you guys must have a 3 trucks so that we can work with you. What if this is a small shipper? It's a lane from Atlanta to Houston, Texas, and it's in the flatbed market, and it ships about 2 to 3 loads per week. You can work with this shipper if you have just 1 truck. So if you work with something, I don't know, think about in a flatbed market specifically, think about distribution center. It's a huge distribution center, and then they ship thousands of loads per week. And obviously, it's a huge competition. There is a carrier with thousands of trucks, and now you have 2, 3 trucks or 1 truck, and obviously there's no room to play with it, right? You must know your equipment. First thing first, you need to know your business, your numbers. More specifically, when I'm talking about your numbers, more specifically, it is the cost per mile, which is CPM. CPM is the rule for a carrier. Know your numbers is very important. I didn't know when I started and I failed it. Don't go that way. Know your numbers. When you know your numbers, then know your market. More specifically, we're talking about the flatbed and the step deck market. We're talking about the temperature control market, which is refrigerator. We're talking about drive-in market. We're talking about the sprinter / hotshot. We also have box truck market, and the last one is the car hauling, auto transport. If you know your market, then you know how many trucks you have, right? Let's say you have 1, 2, 3, whatever. Then you have a specific, the ideal customer of yours. You have the customer avatar, and then you do your marketing, putting some marketing efforts and getting those shippers on board. If you are in a drive-in market, and if you have a 1 or 2 trucks, and you want to work with the Ashley Distribution Center out of Atlanta, Georgia, not going to happen. Not going to happen because Schneider has thousands of owner-operators, hundreds of thousands of trucks. You're not competing. You just can't, right? You're just too small. So very important, know this. And this is why I said yes and no, because it really depends on the size of a shipper, right? Very, very important. Okay, so Shazleen says, can a non-resident being like you're out of a country, be a Landstar agent? That's something that you need to call the Landstar and ask. But I think I have a good news. I have a lot of students out of a country. They're overseas, and they're working as a Landstar agents. More specifically, freight agents, let's say that way, but it's possible. But then you give them a call and obviously ask them. Okay, let's take this one. Pure Intention says, "How long does it take usually to get a carrier when starting?" Guys, I will say this. I'll give you an example. This is a real example. When I started, obviously, I got the carrier within a couple of days. So then I started started teaching this independent freight dispatching and trucking. But then what I realized is that majority of our students getting, let's say, a carrier within the 2 to 3 months. Some students they don't get within a year. It depends on the effort, the energy you put. But then I have students that they don't know anything about this business, and then they get carriers within a week, within a 2 weeks, or something like that. It all depends. But in average, I would say in about like 30 days, if you do really good job, you can get within a couple of days, right? If you have marketing strategies, that means you have tactics. You just implement them, and that's what it is. Think about this way: the carriers there exist, right? They're out there. They're looking for independent freight dispatcher. They need your help. That means demand exists. They demand your services. The only thing is left is just you saying like, "Hey, hello, I'm here. I'm an independent freight dispatcher." If you raise your hand, they'll take you on board, right? So let's see. Let's Diksha says, "To whom a new truck company contact, what is it? Contact for a load as a DAT power, not much loads showing." Yes. Also, guys, watch that video that I did, how to optimize your DAT load board. And this is how you pull that data, meaning data loads, right? This is very important. Think about the load board. It's a learning machine, right? They're like data. You put some data in, freight dispatchers, carriers, um, shippers, freight brokers, more specifically, they put some data, right? So then obviously you're putting something in a search bar. Think about Google, that you're looking for something, right? If you don't do a specific input, you're not going to get a specific output. This is very important. What you put in, that what you get out. This is very important. So when you feed that machine, it's basically artificial intelligence. It's an AI machine. It's algorithm working, right? Obviously there's some people behind this system, but then it's mostly depend on this learning machine. So you put something and then you get more data. When you get less loads, try to expand your search. What I mean by that, if you put Atlanta, Georgia, try to put like Georgia. Try to put neighboring states. Try to put Atlanta, then increase the radius from 50 miles to 150, or 200 to 350, right? I know what you say. I think I can hear you saying, well, my carriers, they're not willing to go 100 miles or 200 miles. Deadhead is huge, something like that. But what I mean by this is basically you need to feed this machine so that you can get more loads. Hope that makes sense. So, let's see. There you go. I just said it, right? There is a huge deadhead. Yes. But again, I'm not saying that you need to travel. But what I'm saying is to think about what I'm saying is you're feeding the data, right? Let's say, let's see. Azizbek says, "I saw your video about find carriers. Then I tried by cold calling, Craigslist, Facebook posts, website, but I can't find a carrier. Can you recommend any other option?" DAT, if you're using DAT, there is a DAT directory. Go there, click on a DAT directory, search for a new relationships. And there you will have thousands of brokers, you will have hundreds of shippers, you will have thousands of carriers, and start contacting them that way. Hope that helps. So let me say, okay, let me take this. Pure Intention said, "Is that the PDF on your phone or a laptop?" So do you mean the paperwork? I think you asked the paperwork. It should be on your computer, right? So if you're using some tablet or the phone, you can do that. Use then the Google Drive. I think the Google Drive will be best, your best friend when it comes to like using the phone. But I prefer like laptop or the computer. Okay, Rebecca says thank you for that info. Absolutely, you're welcome. Okay, so the Redney says TQL seems to be the only one. Yes. Well, awesome, guys. I did my best to get. Well, this is what we have. All of your questions, I think, answered. And again, if you have questions while I'm here, I'll do my best to help you. But again, if you want to know more about dispatching, you want to know more about starting your tracking company, there is a link below this video so you can enroll into the program if you wanted to. That is a coaching program that I have. We closed it in a lot of you. Kamal, can you open the new enrollment, and then we will have open that enrollment for about 3 days, but then we'll close for about a year and a half because we have a lot of students to teach. Did a lot of things coming up. We're creating this software that I promise it will be there. So, and again, I really appreciate all of your questions. Thank you so much, guys. I will see you next